Hey everybody, Foley here for the weekly news recap, the 24th to the 30th of April 2023. Sorry we're getting started quite late. It was a family event on, and I'm sure you know how that goes. Anyway, I can use the stream as a convenient excuse to get out of it. Anyway, moving on. So we jump straight into it. Hey Melvin, how's it going? We jump straight into it. So we have Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, not Fires of the Rubicon. Fires of Rubicon had a gameplay trailer released this week, so showing off what the game will actually play like. So you may recall this made a pretty big noise at the Jeff Awards, or the Game Ads, in December of last year when it was shown off. This is somewhat of a soft reboot of the Armored Core series, where you pilot a mech and you go about doing mercenary missions in your mech, and you gradually improve on it and, you know, get new weapons and new armor and that kind of thing. But it is from the same guys who are responsible for the Dark Souls series. And the last Armored Core, I think, came out before Dark Souls became a big deal. So it's wondering how much of, you know, that studio's work on the Souls and Bloodborne and Elden Ring and so on, how much of that is going to filter into the gameplay into Armored Core, because Armored Core was always a kind of clunky, you are walking around on a giant robot kind of thing. Anyway, let's skip ahead into actual gameplay. So it is pretty fast-paced looking now. It's not clear how many of these are enemies and how many of these are your own weapon types. Hey, Banana, how's it going? How many of these are going to be your own, you know, your own loadout and what have you. But there's a lot of different configurations, a lot of different weapons, so that'll appeal to Armored Core fans. I have not played any of the other Armored Core games. Got the big electric whip, that's pretty cool. And giant worm mech enemy, that's going to be terrifying. And then there's some stuff about the story, but in typical From Software fashion, it makes no sense. And even when you finish the game, it'll still make no sense. But anyway, that's Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. It also has a release date. It will be out in August at some point. August 25th, 2023. A little bit before Baldur's Gate. Moving on. Armored Core looks interesting. Yeah, it's just a question to see how much it'll be like Armored Core, the actual series, and then how much of the fact that they've been working on Elden Ring for the last 10 years. Or not Elden Ring. Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and so on. Anyway, this is some gameplay footage from a game called The Invincible. And it is kind of a Firewatch game set in, like, the 1950s idea of what space travel would be. So lots of retro-futuristic tech, but it's kind of got the Firewatch thing of your walkie-talkie, you have different prompts that you can talk to people about, it's all situational, contextual-based. This is raw gameplay of somebody at IGN playing the demo. The demo will be out later next month, so I'll probably take a look at that because this seems up my alley. Certainly a Foley Fables in the making, I think. I'm just going to skip very quickly through some of this gameplay, but it is very much a kind of, I will talk to them and then I'll hold the prompt button like you do in Firewatch, and you'll have a bunch of different things you can respond to, and so on. This video is quite long, so we're not going to go through the whole thing, but it's pretty basic. They're just walking around the camp. Some shenanigans have happened. This guy is completely incoherent, except medically there's nothing wrong with him, but we don't know something's wrong with him. The robots aren't functioning. Relay systems have all been fried. Shouldn't have been. They've been protected from electromagnetic whatever. They shouldn't be happening. So yeah, shenanigans are happening. Anyway, we'll see what that's like later on next month. Epic Games, free games this week. Actual free, unlike PlayStation Plus and Game Pass free. Slaughter League, looks like it's a Fall Guys deal. Fall Guys deal with cartoon violence. Okay, I kind of thought the appeal of Fall Guys was that it wasn't violent. That's kind of why so many people liked it. Because it's just like fun times, but what have you. Anyway, that's Slaughter League. Horizon Chase Turbo is a racing game. Moving on. I don't like that. Yeah, me neither. KO the Kangaroo is Crash Bandicoot, but he's a kangaroo. So, bandicoots are native to... Are they Madagascar? I'm not sure now. I think they are. Anyway, Kangaroo is obviously Australia. So anyway, but yes, it's Crash Bandicoot. And fans of KO the Kangaroo are going to kill me for saying that, but yes, it is. It's just Crash Bandicoot. Anyway, games with gold. So it is coming up to the start of a new month. So that means games with gold and PlayStation Plus Essential have refreshed. So games with gold for this month will be This is Pod Racing, Star Wars Episode Racer 1, Episode 1 Racer rather, and Hoa. So Star Wars Episode 1 Racer is pod racing. It's a racing game, but Star Wars. And Hoa is not Homeowners Association, which is what I thought it was, some sort of horror rental real estate type deal. Everything's a copy of something else. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. Hoa is a lot more like, I'm going to explain it. So think of it like Inside or Limbo without the killing you every 5 seconds stuff. Or Ori in the Blind Forest without the Metroidvania kind of thing. It's sort of like a gentle zen, not a walking sim exactly, but it's like an easy isn't right either. It's like a zen, calm, platformy experience kind of thing. That's what Hoa is. PlayStation Plus Essentials are racing, more racing games. You guys love it so much, we thought we'd give you too much racing games. So Grid Legends, Rally Car Racing, Descenders, BMX Racing, and Chivalry, Kill the Guy Racing, I guess? I don't know. Chivalry, I guess, doesn't fit into the whole racing thing. Chivalry 2 is a massive multiplayer melee combat type thing. 64 people in a messy field in the middle of France somewhere beating the shit out of each other kind of thing. I don't think it's a 1v63 type deal. I think you are on teams. Otherwise, it would just be a mess. But I'm actually not sure. Anyway, that's the deal with PlayStation Plus Essential. Chivalry 2 I've heard is good, but it is, of course, multiplayer completely, so goodbye. I have no interest in it. Moving on, though. Those are some of the games you can play coming soon, but what about games you can play right now? Well, you can play Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It's the sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. You can tell now he's serious because he has a beard. So it's time to get serious. That's what that means. When your main character grows a beard, you're either very serious or it's been a rough year. You gotta pick one. But yeah, it's following on from Jedi Fallen Order. Cal Kestis is now a Jedi Knight, apparently, even though he didn't go through the trials, but whatever. Apparently he's a Jedi Knight. Darth Vader somehow didn't kill him at the end of the first game. It's debatable. So, I wasn't mad about the first game. Am I serious? Absolutely. I got serious right after the second year of college, I guess. That's when I got serious. I wasn't too fond of the first game. I just felt the combat was too sluggish. I just felt Cal didn't move quick enough for my enjoyment, I guess. I'm too used to Devil May Cry's, Dark Souls, and so on, where your characters respond almost instantaneously. So I'm gonna wait on this one, but there's some interesting stuff there. There's stance changing. You have different lightsabers. You have the Kylo Ren style crossguard lightsaber. You have the dual-ended ones like Darth Maul. You can have two at the same time, like nobody, I think, in the films at least. I've still to try the first game. I'd suggest play it on easy, otherwise you'll just get very frustrated with the combat, I think. It's not that the combat's hard, it's just slow and a pain in the ass. It wants to be Dark Souls, but it's not responsive enough to be Dark Souls, is how I would put it. Anyway, that's Jedi Survivor. I read it works really badly in PC. Currently, yeah, it's not doing great on PC, but at the same time, what game has released well on PC in the last few years? I played a bit of the first one and then deleted it. Yeah, it does get frustrating after a while. This is Honkai Star Rail. So you may or may not be familiar with HoYoverse, who made Genshin Impact. That's loud. Who made Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact it was billed as a Breath of the Wild clone, but has since grown into its own thing. It is a gacha game, which means random characters, random items and stuff like that. So I can't recommend it because of that. You know, there's too much of an opportunity to sink way too much money into the game. I like it, but I wouldn't recommend it. Let's put it that way. If you're okay with jumping into it, that's up to you. Honkai Star Rail then is effectively the same game, but this time it's in space. So if you like the more fantasy, medieval flavorings, you'd probably prefer Genshin Impact. If you prefer something a bit more science fiction, you'd probably prefer something like Honkai Star Rail. At the same time, Genshin Impact is a real-time combat thing. So like Breath of the Wild, whereas Honkai Star Rail is turn-based, which is a lot more like the older Final Fantasies. So up to you what kind of thing you like with that. But Honkai Star Rail will also have the gacha mechanics where, you know, you have to buy the premium. Well, you don't have to buy it, but you have to get the premium currency to make rolls, and you mightn't get guaranteed character that you want and that kind of thing. It's a bit gross, and it's way too close to gambling, which is why, again, I won't recommend it, but I will still probably play it. It's available on PC and mobile right now. It is coming to PlayStation eventually, like Genshin Impact, same thing. Moving on. We have Strayed Lights. So Strayed Lights is Ikaruga, but you punch people. So Ikaruga was an old shoot 'em up. You know, the old kind of portrait style shoot 'em up games where you have your ship at the bottom and all the enemies at the top and you shoot them and try not to get shot back. Ikaruga kind of separated itself because it had a color switching mechanic in that if you were the same color as the enemies, you would do damage. If you were the opposite color, you would not take any damage. So you'd be constantly swapping between colors to make sure you could hurt enemies at the same time, keep yourself defended. Strayed Lights is going for much the same thing, but it's a melee type thing. So you kind of want to match colors with the enemy as they change to ensure that you are defending. But then swap colors when you want to go on assaults and enemies attack quickly. So you're going to be constantly swapping between your different color suits. It works really well. There was another game like this called... I can't remember. Severed, I think? It was kind of a side-scrolling Metroidvania type thing that had the similar game mechanic, and Castlevania Lords of Shadow, actually, near the end of the game, has a very similar game mechanic. But this looks interesting, and it will probably show up on the channel at some point. The Last Case of Benedict Fox. There's a lot of new releases this week that I'm interested in, actually. The Last Case of Benedict Fox is what if... when the Belmonts went to Castlevania, they just went insane instead. So the Last Case of Benedict Fox is Eldritchness. I'm playing this right now. This game or Strayed Lights? So it's a Metroidvania, Eldritch, Cthulhu shenanigans. Benedict Fox is accompanied by some sort of... Oh, this one, okay. He's accompanied by some sort of eldritch beast who is either trapped in him or is possessing him or something, but they're friends? Question mark? It's responsible for a lot of Benedict's abilities and things like that. What the actual story is, it's not clear in the trailer. I think Banana would probably know better than I would at this point. But it's a Metroidvania side-scrolly thing, so yes, I will play it. It's very easy to get me to play your game. Is it a Metroidvania? I'll play it. Anyway, moving on. After Image is anime nonsense, but I like the combat style. There's a lot of very fast-paced combat, very dashing. Very dashing? Air dashing is what I wanted to say. It just looks fairly fast-paced, and it doesn't really go into it in the trailer, but there are a lot of different combat scenarios, different weapon types and stuff like that. But the storyline that is kind of being talked over here in the trailer that I have muted, very dashing indeed. It's anime nonsense, you know? I think if you're interested in anime stuff, you probably already know what I'm talking about, but it's just stupid. But I will probably play it anyway. Is that the last one? No, Bramble the Mountain King is the last one. Okay, so Bramble the Mountain King is Little Nightmares, but set in Scandinavian countries. Miscellaneous Scandinavian country. I don't think they ever say which one it is. Probably Norway. But it's taking Scandinavian folklore, so like trolls, giants, fairies, that kind of thing. Horrible giant frogs, etc. Giving it the Little Nightmares look, where everything looks kind of realistic, but also kind of like a puppet type thing. You're a tiny creature versus giant creatures. Norway. Sonny would love it. I clapped when I heard it. Yeah, I like Little Nightmares, and I like Limbo and Inside and so on, so probably give this a look-see. It's funny, you can't hear it obviously because I mute the trailers for IP reasons, but this is playing the song in the Hall of the Mountain King, which I think in the modern tastes, Hall of the Mountain King is almost a comedy song at this point, because it's very rarely used seriously. But I think they're meant to be using it here seriously, and it gives this trailer a really weird vibe. Anyway, that's our new releases for this week. Unfortunately, you know what that means. It's now time to talk about the worst part of video games, the video game industry. So, the UK has blocked Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal. Microsoft's $69 billion Activision Blizzard deal has been dramatically blocked by UK regulators following a months-long investigation. The decision stems from the CMA's concerns over the deal's proposed impact on the cloud gaming sector. So, what's the problem here? There had been a lot of talk on Call of Duty, right? That's what everybody had been hearing about. Sony were like, no, we can't lose Call of Duty. We refuse to make any other games other than action adventures, but we still need shooters, but we refuse to make them, and we're gonna let Killzone die. But anyway, apparently that wasn't the big problem that the CMA had. The big problem CMA had was Game Pass, and they felt that its cloud gaming offerings, which are still very much in their infancy, mostly because internet infrastructure is just not good enough in most countries to facilitate it. But the CMA's concerns was that this would put Microsoft in a position where they could raise the price on Game Pass. They're pretty much uncontested in the cloud gaming sphere right now, particularly since Stadia died and so on. They felt that this would give Microsoft way too much of an advantage in a market that is only just starting and will probably, as much as everybody hates it, probably will be the future of video games in like 20 years or so. Maybe smaller titles you'll be playing streamed instead of, I hope not, but that's probably where they want, definitely where they want it to go. Anyway, according to Microsoft, we remain fully committed to this acquisition and will appeal. The CMA's decision rejects a pragmatic path to address competition concerns and discourages technology innovation and investment in the United Kingdom. We have already signed contracts to make Activision Blizzard's popular games available on 150 million more devices, citation needed on that one, and we remain committed to reinforcing these agreements through regulatory remedies. Here's the thing. The CMA rejected Microsoft's 10-year deals thing it's been going around making with like Nintendo, Nvidia, Valve, and so on, notably not PlayStation. It's been going around saying, yeah, we'll definitely bring our games to you for, 10 years from now. And the CMA have basically said there is no way to enforce that. You could just drop it whenever and pay the contract, buyout fee. Microsoft could easily do it. So the CMA's position is, look, we don't want to have to regulate that because that's a lot of work and there's really no way to enforce it. So instead of doing that, we're just not going to let you do the deal in the first place. And Microsoft are like, wah, we want to. For Activision's part, they're also like, wah, we want to. The CMA's report contradicts the ambitions of the UK to become an attractive country to build technology businesses. We will work aggressively with Microsoft to reverse this on appeal. There was yada, 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 Brexit, something. This is Activision's idea that bullying tactic, again, from Activision, because that's all they know how to do, is to say that, hey, you guys have left the EU and you're becoming a less attractive country to do business in. Sure would be a shame if we took all our business away. Maybe you might want to make that deal go through. That's pretty much Activision's approach, but being even more blunt than that. Yeah, I think the rest of this article just goes on to sum up what I was saying actually goes into detail. I was summing it up. It's basically pointing out that Microsoft already has cloud gaming offerings with Xbox, with Windows, and with Azure. Then this would just further cement them as pretty much the only game in town when it comes to streaming stuff. So they were like, nope, that's not good. Can't make that happen. Allowing Microsoft to take such a strong position in the cloud gaming market just as it begins to grow would risk undermining the innovation that is crucial to the development of these opportunities. So CMA decided that those 10-year deals that they've been talking about are just, you're only doing it to get the deal through, and as soon as the deal is through, you'll drop it, more or less. And there's no way to like enforce it or anything like that. Accepting Microsoft's remedy would inevitably require some degree of regulatory oversight by the CMA. By contrast, preventing the merger would effectively allow market forces to continue to operate and shape the development of cloud gaming without this regulatory intervention. And that's about it. So that's the deal. That's how it sits. Microsoft will appeal, obviously, because they want this to go through. It is going through in most other territories. The last couple of territories that still need to confirm is the US, which is one of their biggest territories, and the EU. It's kind of interesting here that the CMA, I'm not sure what their position was with the EU at the time, but this could be the first time that they had to weigh in on something and not just follow whatever the EU said, because Brexit and so on. So this could be their first time where they're trying to like flex their muscles and say, no, we're not going to agree to it, fuck you. This could be political bullshit, and on appeal it'll get struck down. At the same time, though, a lot of analysts who know a lot more about these kind of things than I do have said that it's rare for CMA decisions to be appealed, or for them to win appeal, rather. Anyway, apologies for a Bobby Kotick face, but in this article, Activision CEO expects accelerated UK appeals process after irrational Microsoft deal block. To be honest, this rest of this article just goes on to say what I had kind of already said, which was, hey, it would be terrible if we took our business from you now that you're not part of the EU, kind of thing. When you look at the facts and you look at what the opportunities are for the UK, this was a transaction that was only going to enhance opportunities for competition. How? Consolidation does not enhance competition. For our players, how? You're locking them out of one pretty popular platform. And for our employees, also how? You are now restricting the number of employers that they can work for. I don't want to work for Activision, and I also don't want to work for Microsoft. Well, fuck you, so. And it was just a flawed ruling in every respect. No. I mean, you could argue that the cloud gaming stuff right now, it doesn't make sense to restrict it because it's such a small market. But you could read, 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now, it'll be a bit better. What's interesting, though, is the appeals typically take about 2 years to go through. And there is actually a deadline on the merger to go through as part of the contract agreement. So whether or not the case can be wrapped up before the current merger agreement expires on July 18th, after which Activision Blizzard could walk away with a $3 billion termination fee, remains to be seen. So they'll probably, renegotiate that and extend the merger agreement deal, would be my thinking. The EU has yet to weigh in. The US, the FTC, have said that they are suing Activision and Microsoft to prevent the merger, but it's up to a judge to stop that, or whether or not. Apparently the merger is allowed to go through even though they've been sued, which is weird. That's a weird law system you got there. Anyway, moving away from Activision and Blobby. A supermajority of Sega of America workers announced plans to unionize. So, a supermajority of employees of Sega of America have announced plans to unionize. They've done this in conjunction with the Communications Workers of America labor union. So these are the same people who helped QA workers at Raven Software unionize. They helped some of the people at ZeniMax, the same thing. So it seems like if you want to make a video game union, these are the people you go in with. They're calling their group the Allied Employees Guild Improving Sega, or Aegis. That's quite the labored acronym right there, but here we are. They've also filed for an election with the National Labor Relations Board. So just typically it's the first step for we need to vote, and if the vote goes through, we have a union. We are united in our belief that by banding together, we can secure a future where we are empowered to advocate for ourselves, for our colleagues, in our quest to reclaim our collective power. We have built bridges with fellow workers, yada, 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 yada. Basically, they're trying to protect against pay raises. They want pay to be indexed to inflation. Good luck with that one. Benefits, making sure people who have been working with them for a long time are actually considered full-time employees, and apparently right now they're not. One example, nearly a third of Sega's long-time workers still lack full-time status, paid time off, proper training, or even bereavement leave. Like, what are you doing? That's ridiculous. So yes, good. More unions. Moving on. Apple wins appeal court ruling in App Store legal battle with Epic Games. Hey, remember this? This was the other court thing that was in the news all the time until it wasn't for ages. So the Epic versus Apple deal on the App Store was that Epic didn't want to pay the 30% cut that Apple takes from all of its sales and transactions. That includes like buying V-Bucks and whatever, buying cosmetic items in Fortnite through the app, to the iOS app. Apple would get a cut. And Epic wanted to avoid that, and they did that by installing their own shop inside the game. And that violated Apple's terms and conditions for being on the App Store, and it removed Fortnite from the store. And this led to them suing. Epic were contending that the 30% cut is too much, that there should be other stores allowed on iOS so that other people could, make competitive pricing and also avoid having to pay Apple the 30%. The eventual ruling, though, was that it's Apple's platform and they can do what they want. The judge did not argue the case about whether or not there should be third-party stores. There should be, really, but that wasn't. He wasn't prepared to rule on that. All he ruled was that this is Apple's thing and they get to do what they want with it. And also the 30% cut is pretty much the same everywhere. Google do the same, Sony do the same, Microsoft do the same, and so on. It's 30% almost everywhere except the Epic Games Store. And in a few years, I think they'll probably change their mind on that too. Anyway, that's how it stands. Epic appealed it, and the appeal was struck down. So, no change. No change, really. Last thing, Control's lead designer establishes new NetEase Games studio anchor point. So, NetEase have effectively are in the process of building a new video game studio called Anchor Point, and it will be founded by Control's lead designer Paul Erith. Control is a really good game, and the design in it is exceptional. So that's a good get for them. They are planning on focusing on action adventure games for console and PC. They'll be joined by a campaign designer for Halo 4 and 5. I've never played, so I don't know what those campaigns are like. Other developers have worked on Ghost of Tsushima, Red Dead 2, The Division, and others. That's all great, but this is where it gets a bit not great. Our studio's motto is Per Aspera ad Astra, through hardships to the stars, because what we were attempting to build is an adventure that will stay fresh and provide a unique experience that will surprise people each time they play. Through hardships to the stars sounds a lot like Get Ready to Crunch. It sounds a lot like Get Ready for bad management and having to just work long hours. That's what that sounds like. We're grateful to NetEase for giving us the creative freedom and resources to build an interconnected world that will expand beyond games and reach into other mediums as well. Gross. No. Stop. This has never worked. It's never worked this way around. It's never worked from video games to other media. Other media into video games has worked. See Star Wars, see Marvel games, and so on. But the other way around, it really doesn't work that well. Anyway, good luck to them. But I don't think it's going to work out. Anyway. Alright, last thing. Square Enix releases AI game. Reviews throw it in the trash. So this is an AI re-release / remake of one of the very first visual novel games. Possibly the first visual novel game, called the Protopia Serial Murder Case. And it is, historically pretty important game because it did pioneer the adventure game, effectively. So this is when adventure games weren't point-and-click affairs. This is when adventure games were type in what you want to do. It's like walk left, pick up book, stuff like that. And the way that worked was, rather than stifling the player and having you type in exactly what you needed it to say, they would add in redundant phrases, so that if you said go to study, or go to the study, or go to a study, or go study, or something like that, it would know you meant the room, the study, go there. It's like that kind of thing. So they remade it with ChatGPT type thing, predictive machine learning. What the fuck are they called? Markov chains. And apparently it works even worse than the original. It's actually worse at it. You would think it would be better being able to, match phrases and meanings together, but apparently it's worse. Most of the reviews are from people who really like the original game and are like, what have you done? More or less. Just an insult to a game with such an important legacy. It's actually a marvel how this manages to be a failure on all fronts. The AI on Showcase is so unsophisticated that it can't even discern the commands like go to study and go to the study are effectively the exact same. Zork had a better understanding of what your commands meant. The software is meant to demonstrate the cutting edge technology of AI similar to that, but doesn't even come close to it. You have to be very specific with what you type, otherwise you'll get a nonsense response. Having finished the game, you need to be intimately familiar with the original to actually get through it. So it turns out this has all been a really bad experiment, and hopefully it's the last one. And they can just release the game as it was, but just have it run on modern machines. That's it. That's all you had to do. Slam dunk. Anyway, all right, we're gonna leave. We'll leave Star Wars to loop, I guess. Anyway, you're too long. Didn't watch for the 24th to 30th of April 2023. Armor Core 6 trailer showing off gameplay looks pretty good. The Invincible seems like it's going to be Firewatch in space. Looks interesting. Some new releases: Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Honkai Star Rail, Strayed Lights, Last Case of Benedict Fox, After Image, and Bramble the Mountain King. That's a lot of new releases that I'm interested in this week. And our industry bullshit. The UK says no to the Microsoft Activision acquisition. Sega of America are unionizing. Epic have lost their appeal in the Apple versus Epic lawsuit. And players say, lol no, to Square Enix's AI game. So, that is our news for the 24th of the 30th of April 2023. But what is happening in the channel next week? So, it's here somewhere. There it is. So this is our, again, roadmap, game mosaic type deal for January to the end of June for 2023. So I have swapped in some games there. I've put in Immortality in place of one of the other Darksiders, because we had Darksiders 2 in twice for no reason. Reminder for what all of this means. These are the games I'm intending to feature on the channel between January and June of this year. A green tick, it's already been featured. Yellow symbol means it is currently in progress. Gray is it's on its way soon. And if it has a wedge in the top left corner, it is a full Let's Play. And if it has no symbol on it whatsoever, it's good. I don't know. It'll be here eventually. Just cut me some slack. So this week we played Have a Nice Death. We played that on Wednesday, I think. You want to go full screen? Okay, Have a Nice Death is a side-scrolling roguelike. So think Hades, but you go side to side instead of in isometrics. You play the Grim Reaper, who has outsourced a lot of the reaping of souls to his subordinates, and his subordinates have gotten lazy and are just, half-assing their job, and it's making life pretty shit for everybody who works at Dead Inc. or Deadco, or whatever the company is called. So as the Grim Reaper and as the CEO, it's your job to basically, whip your subordinates back into shape, kind of thing. It's a lot of fun. I quite like it. It's certainly not as good as Hades, but as I said, I think in the video or in the stream, nothing is as good as Hades. So, I don't think you should give it too much shit for it not being as good as Hades. Anyway. We also played Chia, which is a kind of a pretty chill sandbox exploration, open world type thing. You play Chia, who has this ability to soul jump or body hop or what have you. So you can jump into the bodies of other creatures or other inanimate objects. So you can jump into a rock and hurl yourself across the landscape, which is a great way to actually make progress. You can, jump into a fish and swim about the place. You can jump into a bird, fly around and shit on people. apparently. There's literally an option to poo when you're a bird. It's pretty funny. Become a dog and do dog things, etc., etc. It's clearly focused very much on showing off the culture of New Caledonia. Possibly too much focused on us, because the game itself definitely veers more into the... how to explain it necessarily. Like, there's a huge focus on the culture. Clearly that's what they were going for, but at the same time, it kind of detracts from the gameplay a bit too much. There's a lot of stifling of the gameplay because of where it's set. There's not a lot of variation in the different animals, in the different climates, and so on. If you think about what it's compared against, which is Breath of the Wild, Breath of the Wild has like 5 different climates going on. And they get away with that because it's a fictional, like Hyrule is a fictional place, whereas they're like literally trying to more or less recreate New Caledonia. It works and it doesn't work, you know? Like, there's some aspects for it that make it fun. Like, the body hopping stuff is really good. The story is very short. I have actually finished it at this point. I'm just trying to 100% the game now. The body hopping stuff is great. The actual traversal from it is really good. You go from a dolphin, you jump out of the water, body hop into a bird, fly across the landscape, and then drop, and then start sliding down a big hill and that kind of stuff. Jump onto a coconut tree and yeet yourself across the landscape. There's a lot of good stuff there. That's really good. It's just kind of wrapped around a sort of plodding game, unfortunately. Yeah, getting about the place is great. And I hope they kind of keep that and keep going with it. If they move it into a Chia 2, or they take the concepts and put it into a game that gives them a bit more freedom, I think that would be good. Anyway, moving on. We played that on Thursday. On Friday, nope. Skipping ahead. Next week. Resident Evil 4. So, Resident Evil 4, we have now finished the castle segment. So we're moving on to the island segment, which is the last part, Act 3, if you like, of Resident Evil 4. Of the remake. It's so good. It's still amazing. It's stressful as fuck, but it's still amazing. It's even more stressful than the original game. But I am really liking it. And we actually had the Krauser fight there as well. That was a lot of fun. So we're going to be getting back to it on Monday. And continuing into Saturday. On Wednesday. So I hadn't really thought of what to make as a Foley Fable yet. And I know Melwyn, possibly still in chat, wants to play the Quarry as well, so this is more of a placeholder, but I would like to play Immortality, which is the third Sam Barlow FMV game, basically. If you're not familiar with it, this is a concept Sam Barlow started with a game called Her Story. You basically have access to a whole database of very small clips, and all you have is a keyword search term thing. And you have to sort of piece together the story, trying to piece together the clips and figure out what happened, depending on whatever the story is. Her Story, it was trying to solve a murder. Telling Lies, it was trying to figure out what happened to an FBI agent. And in Immortality, it's trying to figure out what happened to this actress who just disappeared after making 3 really well-received films, and then she just sort of disappeared. So it's trying to figure out what happened to her. We'll be playing it on PC. And then on Thursday, and this is why I got confused, because I thought I had this trailer earlier in the list, but 9 Years of Shadows we played on Friday. It is a very colorful Metroidvania-style game, where you are this possibly princess. I'm not sure. It's not clear. I think she is, but it hasn't really come up yet in the story, but that's my feeling around it. You have gone into this castle that is responsible for leeching color from the rest of the world, and it's your sort of goal to figure out what's going on, stop it, bring life and joy and what have you back to the world. It's also that your character is sort of grappling with imposter syndromes type thing. There's a lot of mental health nudges in the game. That's how you fight him. Okay, good to know, because that's not how I did it. Anyway, that works. You're also accompanied by a teddy bear, which is kind of actually what sold me on it, because okay, it's it's being kind of serious, and it's all about, it's all dark, and we gotta bring life back, but also you have a teddy bear friend, so it's clearly not taking itself massively seriously, which is good. So it was meant to be only part of Foley Plays Games a Bit series, but I've instead decided to make it a full Let's Play because I was really enjoying it. So yeah, we'll be continuing to play that on Thursday. So that is our schedule for next week. Resident Evil 4 Monday and Saturday. Immortality on Wednesday. 9 Years of Shadows on Thursday. No stream currently on Friday because I probably will be playing D&D, but again, that might change because it usually does. I say probably, it's more like 55% will be doing D&D and not. And then we'll be right back around to Sunday for the weekly news recap. So, I forgot to change scenes. Oh well. That was all meant to be full screen, guys. Oh well. Anyway. Back to this. Back to this face. Yeah, so that's our schedule. Sorry that the news was so late today. Again, we had a family event that I had to attend. Anyway, it's over now, and I'm back. Anyway, I'm not sure if Melwyn is still in the chat, but I think you're streaming Mafia later today. Possibly. It's been a while since you streamed, because you've been on holidays for a while. So I might see some of you in the chat for that. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow for Resident Evil 4. Right. Have a good rest of your day, and yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.